All right.
Hello.
Hey, Brian, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good.
How's it going?
Good. We just have some music in the background. A couple folks have joined us already, so I just put a hello and welcome, so if they could introduce themselves, their name, location, LinkedIn profile, and anything they're looking to learn specifically today. Cool. Right. Yeah, so we'll just give it a few minutes, just for the hellos and welcomes, and make sure everyone's in the right place. Cool. Hi, Derek, good to see you on. If you feel comfortable, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, we just have some feel-good music to kick us off. But if you feel comfortable to introduce yourself in the chat, by all means, share your name, location, LinkedIn profile, and anything you're looking to learn today.
Certainly. Did you say do it in the chat?
I'm sorry?
Did you say do it in the chat or?
Yeah, in the chat. Or you could do it live. Let me turn this music off. I love that. Hold on one sec. All right. Okay, and I think everyone can hear you okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just having some audio visual issues myself.
No worries. Okay, we have Bree on. Hi, Bree. Okay. Red, LA. Cool. Thank you. All right, we'll get started in another minute or two. Just giving some folks some time to join us, hop in. I know it's 12 o'clock on the Pacific side of things, so it may be lunchtime. So if you need to grab some water, a little snack, just while we're getting started, by all means. I'm probably going to do a lot of the talking today, and I have my counterpart here, Brian Kwa. I'll introduce him in a second. I'm not going to cut his intro short at all. All right. Okay, so just to kind of reiterate, I saw some people pop in and pop back out, but I'll just put it back out there. So if you feel comfortable, hello and welcome. You can introduce yourself in the chat, your name, location, LinkedIn profile if you feel comfortable. My name is Ariel Balagoon. I am the host of today's webinar, Job Search Makeover, Cracking the ATS or Applicant Tracking System, and hoping to give you some resume one-on-one. And it is in partnership with MPH Tech Academy, and that's Brian Kwa that I have as my co-host for today. So I'm not going to run through my whole slideshow, but just making sure that everyone's in the right place. And we're going to go ahead and get started. And everyone can see my screen okay, correct? Perfect. So we did the hellos and welcomes. Keep going as you're joining in. So introducing yourself, name, location, LinkedIn profile, what you're looking to learn today. Perfect. And moving right on through. Okay, just for today's agenda. So we've done the welcome. We will share a little bit about us. So again, my name is Ariel Balagoon, and I have with me Brian Kwa today. We'll do a more official introduction shortly. Today's topic is cracking the ATS or Applicant Tracking System and providing resume one-on-one. We will be providing an ATS-friendly resume example and offering some free gifts at the end. They are truly free, but I wanted to make sure that that's out there because they are exciting. Like, we are trying to meet people where they are and help wherever we can as career coaches. So without further ado, let's keep on rolling. And again, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you feel comfortable. And I'm gonna put mine in there too. Like I'm asking all of y'all to do all the work, so let me do some too, right? You're like, come on, all right. So this is the LinkedIn for myself and, oh, Brian already beat me to the punch, but for both of us, so that you have that. All right, and so just introducing myself. So again, Ariel Balagoon, I'm a career coach. I have a focus on helping job seekers and revenue operations professionals, go-to-market professionals achieve their career goals. I've spent over 13 years growing my career in tech here in the Silicon Valley Bay Area with a knack of making complex things simple. And so now I really want to empower people to achieve results and better clarity in their careers. And then I'll pass it over to Brian to do his intro.
Hey everyone. Thanks for hosting, Ariel. I appreciate it. I am Brian Qua, a former tech recruiter for Uber, YouTube, and Google, and quite fortunate to have worked with these companies. Prior to that, I was trying to find my passion for helping others, but couldn't find, my niche, so to speak. So I tried like 10 different odd jobs, and it wasn't until I stumbled across a mentorship program that taught me the importance of resume and tailoring it and job search strategies on LinkedIn and interview prep that it made everything click. So hopefully in this session today, we can go over some of those frameworks, strategies, and blueprints that has helped me land those companies, as well as can help you land those companies and your next role. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Brian. And I will say, don't be shy. This is to help everyone that has joined today. We are here as a resource for you. You can drop it in the chat. We'll save a little bit of the Q&A towards the end if you still want to kind of get your thoughts together. No worries there. But I definitely want to make sure that that was stated up front. So just a little bit more about us. So myself and Brian, together we drive impact and have proven value. Brian talked a little bit about his experience, but all encompassing, we cover areas of finance, business development, program management, project management, recruiting, revenue operations, and sales. So those are kind of our sweet spots, but that doesn't mean we can't help job seekers in totality, right? Like we want to be able to help with very specific areas of your job search, whether it is helping with your resume, whether it is interview preparation, your job search strategy altogether. Y'all don't know how many times we've heard, I've applied to over 800 jobs or 500 jobs and I'm not seeing any traction. And that hurts. That hurts to hear as a coach, and it signals a lot about the strategies we use and how we approach, your job search altogether. And so, like I said, we're here to help. Ask those questions. Don't be shy. This is literally here for you. And just on the right-hand side of the screen, between the two of us, over 15,000 followers, 25 years of combined experience, and over 1,000 careers impacted. And we're looking to like drive those numbers up, up. So if there's anything, like I said, please ask your questions. We're just trying to make an impact. We're trying to help. And I'll keep us going so that we stick to time. I want to make sure that we have so much more time for just the content of our presentation. This is just a quick page of our testimonials around folks that have worked with us before. We both have quite a bit, so you can check out our websites, etc., and go, figure out more about who we are and what we do and what we offer. But I did want to kind of put that out there that people are happy. We come from a good place. We have big hearts, and so we're just looking to share. All right, and so jumping right in today's topic, we're going to talk about cracking the ATS, so Applicant Tracking System, and Resume 101. So again, so let me just kind of piggyback on when I say crack the ATS. There are about 9 to 10 systems here in the US. They kind of work about the same. So I am going to do a little bit of education around applicant tracking systems and what that means. we're not really trying to break the system. We are trying to work with it, right? And so understanding like how it works and what we can do to help increase our odds of getting through those applicant tracking systems is really going to be impactful in what we're looking to share with you today. So I have a couple of questions that people have asked me. I'm sure they've come up with Brian as well, but like as far as applicant tracking systems, what is the ATS and how does it really work? How do I optimize my resume for ATS? And what are some common misconceptions about the ATS? So there's a lot there. We're going to talk all about it, but just kind of prefacing this webinar with letting y'all know, like these are questions that keep coming up over and over and over again. And Brian, if there's folks that are asking you other questions about the ATS, and again, as a former recruiter, like then you can kind of give us some inside scoop. That would be amazing. And then as far as the resume, should it really be 1 or 2 pages? We get that quite often. Should you tailor it? And why is my resume consistently auto rejected? So those are some kind of top questions that we'll lead off with, and hopefully to get some of those juices flowing. So if you have anything specific that you want to throw in the chat, or once we get to the Q&A, to elaborate a little bit more on that, we are more than happy to do so. And then the last question, what can I do about it? That's why we're here. So let's talk about it. All right, so how to get your resume past those ATS filters. Brian, did you want to start with any best practices, inside scoop on ATS, just from your previous experience with working as a recruiter specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of preconceived notions of what an ATS is and isn't. And it probably ranges from company to company since ATS is sometimes differ and there's so many new technologies. But it's essentially a way for us recruiters, employers to track who's applying to the job, right? It's a bucket. You are applying to the job. It's coming into this bucket. And if there's 1,000 applicants, there's 1,000 resumes in that bucket, so to speak. And what the ATSs can do nowadays is like identify keywords, matches, and such. So it's identifying those things using the algorithm for sure. So if you don't have some of those keywords, it's going to hurt you. That's why everyone says kind of optimize your resume. So I say that, but majority of, at least in my experience, working, during my time for Uber and Google, it's reviewed by a human. A majority of these are reviewed by a human. So when you think about that too, on a recruiter's plate, if I'm supposed to review 100 resumes today, and I have, other priorities as well, and that's just one of the things I have to do, and I have only 2 hours to do that potentially. Like if you think psychologically and just like as a human being, I'm not going to spend 2 to 3 minutes on each resume. That's literally going to take me the whole day, right? So I'm going to spend literally 10 seconds to review a resume. And if you can't get those main points across, that you are the best fit for that role in those 5 to 10 seconds, I'm probably going to swipe left, so to speak, right? And just go on to the next person, right? Just like how you guys come to a web page, or if you're on dating apps, you're swiping left or right within 3 seconds. It's almost the same thing nowadays. And there's so much noise that you have to just be upfront and center, right? So yeah, and the right keywords to get noticed, it really is based on that job description, right? If I'm looking for a software developer with C++ knowledge, backend systems, you need to state that in the first 3 to 5 seconds. I need to see that, and it needs to be super clear to me. But if you're not, then it's going to go to the next person because there's so many applicants nowadays. Everyone's fighting for that one role, right? So how are you gamifying that? How are you reverse engineering that to make it easier for that person to read your resume, to identify, oh, yeah, I think Ariel's it. Yeah. Right.
Sure thing. And really elaborating on what Brian was saying around using the job description to your benefit, right? That is your cheat sheet. you want to use the keywords, look at the top bullet points of what they're asking for your responsibilities and qualifications to input into your resume. If you think about it, it's not a system to really like weed you out, it's to ensure alignment. And the way that I like to explain it to clients is if a company is asking you for burgers and fries and a strawberry milkshake and you give them shrimp tacos, that is not alignment. That is not making sure that you have on your resume what they're asking for in the job description. So use it to your advantage. If you're using LinkedIn as your primary kind of job search, job board, excuse me, there's a way to look at the skills even. What skills are they asking for in this job description? It's right there, so making sure that that is reflected in your resume. And then again, on the keywords like Brian was talking about, making sure that you don't have too many like acronyms and like jargon that maybe you or your former companies would know, but also listing it out. So if you have CPA, like you can have it in your resume, but also certified public accountant. Because again, you're trying to make sure that there's alignment there. And if you're kind of shortchanging yourself by having acronyms and not the full word, that's a way to kind of have misalignment actually. And again, as things are coming up, feel free to drop questions. There will be a Q&A towards the end. Just get when it comes to your resume. And so when we talk about tailoring your resume, like, oh my God, do I have to do that? Especially if you're applying to so many companies in a day. There should be a strategy behind that. I'm kind of getting off topic to job search strategy, but this is part of it.
Looks like we have some questions too. I'm not sure if you want to save that towards the end or answer them now.
Yeah, let me come back to that. Job search and tailor resume. Okay, so question, Marta. At the ATS, is the ATS customized where it is reviewing resumes and based on the number of keyword matches the resume has, it will identify the applicant as a good candidate is the question. So Brian, did you want to take that, or I'm very
Yeah. Yeah,
about that one too.
Yeah, some suggestions. It will read and scan the resume and say this may be a potential good fit based off of the job description. So it gives us a quick review of that, and then but we're still doing the second review, right? Someone has to actually okay it or not.
Yep. And then second question, are ATSs smart enough to know things like the fact that a skill in Java is distinct from a skill in JavaScript, or is that skill in TypeScript implies skill in JavaScript, or does this need to be spelled out? I would spell it out. I would be specific because again, you're trying to ensure alignment, you're trying to ensure a match. So don't give up an opportunity to ensure alignment or a match. And to Brian's point, yeah, 10 seconds. I've looked at research and studies. There's studies out there from recruiters, and they look at the scan of like eyeball scans and how they kind of review the resume. So you can give it what it needs in the format that they need to see it, right? If they have to like jump all over and connect the dots themselves, again, that's more work on the recruiter that's reviewing it in like 7 to 10 seconds, to be quite frank. And you want to give yourself the best chance to make it through that first 10 seconds. Cool, cool, cool. Keep the questions coming. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So I do want to also talk about some common mistakes. Actually, let's go back to tailoring your resume a little bit more, and then we'll talk more about the common mistakes folks make. And I can kind of get into my spiel on that, but keep those questions coming. Xiomara, so is the ATS more like a comparison match situation? Brian, did you want to go in on that one?
A comparison match.
Like resume.
Yeah, like a resume match. But like, if you really think about it, these are all tools. ChatGPT is a tool. It's how good of a input that you give it on what parameters that you're looking for that will determine the output and the suggestions. Right. So if the recruiter is inputting, I need someone with TypeScript or JavaScript specifically and nothing else, that's what's supposed to be searched by the tool. So the more skilled the recruiter is using the ATS, that will determine whether or not your resume gets filtered out. But now that you know how that operates, you can use that to your advantage and reverse engineer that.
Yeah.
All right. And keep in mind too, recruiters are having discussions with the hiring manager as far as what they're looking for. So they're also keeping that in the back of their mind when they are doing these initial scans, and then coming up with a subset of candidates that they would like to present to the hiring manager to consider. You know, before you even get the outreach, like, hey, we want to interview you. So they're keeping that in mind, right? So give them what they want. They're asking for very specific things for a reason, right? So give them what they're asking.
Yeah. And I just want to, chime in really quick. There's actually like 3 buckets that recruiters have in their workflow. Do you guys know which that is? Anyone? No? Oh, I think you're speaking, Fred. I see you.
Oh no, I was just trying to say, you said 3 buckets, right?
Yeah, it's like 3 different buckets.
I'm not exactly sure, but as far as I know, they're matching, they're taking a look at that resume, but they're really taking a look at the job description as well, doing the match like you're saying. And then they wouldn't move anything forward unless there was a big enough match, but I guess I'm not sure what you mean by the buckets.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, you're correct. And let me clarify on that. So the 3 buckets mainly is external applicants, right? This is when you click on a job posting on LinkedIn and it leads to their site and you're applying and filling out your information. This bucket might be thousands, as you guys know. The second bucket is internal referrals. Companies are always prioritizing, hey, do you know anyone? Like, refer a friend. Everyone wants a referral nowadays. Though the amount of referrals is probably going to be for a company that's mid-sized, maybe like 5 to 10 on any given week, potentially. And if you think about that, I'd rather comb through 5 to 10 referrals first, then the thousands of applicants later, right? And then there's actually a third bucket. And anyone name that third bucket? No? All right, so imagine I have 1,000 applicants and 20 referrals. That doesn't mean I still found my unicorn. That doesn't mean I found my star software engineer or head of marketing. Now it's dependent on me headhunting. And guess where I'm going to headhunt? LinkedIn, right? Job boards, primarily LinkedIn. And I've used LinkedIn and I'm biased across that because every role that I've had, every recruiter has gotten LinkedIn Recruiter. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you're just missing out on all those opportunities. And I got all these opportunities because of LinkedIn. So that's the 3 main buckets. And just to piggyback off of what Ariel said too, when the hiring manager identifies a potential good candidate, that recruiter is like listening and saying, okay, I'm going to reach out to them directly as well. So it's almost like 4 buckets in a sense, but he's doing the headhunting for you. But yeah, that's the priority. From there to referrals to external applicants. So they're always going to prioritize that flow.
I have another question. So it says, so you mentioned ChatGPT. I've been using it to identify if my background is a good fit for the role that I'm applying for. And even though I'm a fit and even though I'm a fit, I'm getting rejections. Can you speak to why
Yeah.
that?
Absolutely. So even if you have an optimized resume and it fits the description, there's nuances to it, but primarily, are you doing the extra legwork to make sure the decision maker is actually seeing it? You could have the perfect resume for that role, but it gets lost in the thousands of applicants. Like, let's just say you applied in the middle. It's not the first or it's not the last, and I'm not getting down to that the 500th applicant, which is you. Then what? Right. But if you're referring and I'm cleaning out these buckets quickly, the 5 to 10 referrals, and you got a referral, I'm going to prioritize that immediately. Right. So you got to think about like how the organization, how the role for a recruiter is and their bandwidth and how to stay top of mind. That's why it's so important to network, build up your brand, and just build up these connections like you would good friends to ask for referrals for. That's the secret. It's literally that simple, but that hard too, right? Yeah.
Cool. Derek, yeah, your question.
Yeah, I have a question regarding LinkedIn. Maybe it's a couple questions since I know that we all use it. I've been someone who's been on the hiring side of things of hiring people. And I'm on the other side of that right now. Like I think 30% of people are. But companies pay to advertise their jobs on LinkedIn, right? Regardless of if they hire the person from LinkedIn, they've already paid a fixed fee for that service. I've always had referrals in my past hiring, so I've never really posted a job on LinkedIn before. So to your point, referrals and networking is important. But as far as LinkedIn goes, is it wiser to apply within the company's specific website than to LinkedIn? Because I wasn't sure if you get charged differently because you're getting an applicant from LinkedIn.
Yeah, great question. I think it ranges from company to company and how they run that operations. I know that when you post a job listing as a business owner, and I've done that before, it gives you an option. Apply and aggregate profiles from LinkedIn or a different company site. So it's depending on what that preference is for the business, right? And that recruiter. So if it's like, no, I just want everything to go on LinkedIn, then it just goes on LinkedIn. Then I review the profile and it basically gives me a quick saying, good fit, not good fit, potential based off of qualifications, some keywords, etc. But they're all like there in a list.
Can I ask another question regarding LinkedIn? And I'm sure
Yeah.
other people have this question. When we see a job's been posted on LinkedIn, you'll see over 100 people have applied. I immediately think, not a chance. Why bother at this point, right? Additionally, you'll see reposted 5 days ago. What does that mean? I mean, I know what the words mean. I'm a marker, I can read, but what does it actually mean?
Like a refresh. They put it back up there and hoping to get some new candidates.
Does
I
that
see that
mean
all
the
the
first
time, so
600 that came through weren't good?
it just basically means they're trying to get more.
Okay, so
And
it's
maybe
it's gamified.
Yeah, gamified a little bit, but also you have to keep in mind these are humans. Sometimes they don't always know what they want, or they maybe interview a few candidates with the profile that they have, and they maybe want to change course or change direction, and maybe they're looking for something new, or they're looking for something different. And so they're reposting it to gather and attract more applicants, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean that like, oh, they took it down. And now they're putting back up. They don't have the budget. There's that too, but we want to make sure that, hey, if it is reposted, sometimes what happens is they put it on repeat, if you will, and it just goes back up because maybe they already paid for it and they're just gonna let it ride and keep going. But you do
Is that a signal to reapply for something you already applied for?
I would double check. This is how the order in which I would do it. And Brian, you can tell them if you have a strategy too. But one, I would go back to the website and see if it actually still is posted before you do all the work. I mean, some companies, you can do easy apply. That's not a strategy that we recommend, but go to see if it's still an active role that they're hiring for on their company website. If it is, just hire straight from there. I'm sorry, apply straight from there rather than LinkedIn itself, because again, you're fighting with all of the other general applicants. And then I know Workday is a big one here in the Bay. It doesn't talk to each other, and it's frustrating. Y'all don't know how many Reddit I've been in about that, but just to like see, are you doing something about it? But yeah, double check to make sure it still is live and active. Brian, what do you think about reapplying again? I don't want to take up too much airtime here, but
Yeah. I think everyone's right. There's so many different things that could be going on. I was in another webinar about 2 months ago, and someone explained like sometimes the hiring manager changes direction and tweaks that and just needs new applicants coming in. So that's definitely right. And then business org changes, right? And sometimes they just need more of a specific type of talent. And then last but not least, it's a marketing tool. Like having your company job postings out there is like free marketing. People keep applying, people know about it. It just shows up on a ranking, kind of like SEO.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you're nodding your head, but yeah, it's free publicity. Not free, but I
get
mean,
it.
it doubles up, right?
Already budgeted.
Yep.
I will say too,
There
if
you
it
go.
helps, I have definitely tried to reapply for things that I saw that I knew I was a really good fit for, but the system wouldn't let me because they said
Yeah.
I'd already been applied and already been reviewed. So there's that too.
Exactly. So yeah, I
Interesting.
wouldn't really try to do that. And then if you apply to multiple different roles and you're not the best fit and you're getting rejected for one or two already, it's best not to do that shotgun effect. It could really hurt you. They look at that and they'll see, like if I look up your name, Fred Miller, and it's like 10 different applications for marketing, sales, operations, etc. Like it looks like you're all over the place. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't do that. I would try to get your resume in front of the right person and do a lot of that networking instead.
Yes. Yeah. I saw Shiomara, you came off mute, but, and I
Yeah.
also too, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to actually say that I would not apply if you've already applied, just because I actually came across that situation where I applied for a role that I was like, according to what they wanted, I was the perfect match. I even had an interview with a recruiter, and he was excited about it and had mentioned, had actually said, you know what? I'm going to introduce your resume to the hiring manager and I'll get back to you within a week. A week passed by. I figured, okay, it was Labor Day weekend, so I kind of allowed the whole, I allowed at least a week and a half. And then I went back and followed up and I reached back to the recruiter. He never, 3 times, because I always say you reach out, follow up 3 times. After the third time, if you don't get a follow up, just call it a day. And so I did that, never got a follow up. Next thing you know, about 3 months later, the position pops up again on LinkedIn. And I'm like, oh, and I'm just like, why would they do that? And so one, to me, that was almost like a red flag. The hiring manager and the recruiter were not aligned on what they needed. That's the first thing that I kind of came up with. Two, I didn't really look at salary because I didn't really consider salary, just because I think for that particular role, there is sort of like a market salary for it. So I think that it wasn't so much salary, but I think it was more the recruiter and the hiring manager were probably not aligned on what the hiring manager is actually looking for. And so that's probably why they said, you know what? No, let's rewrite this whole thing because it just needs to I want the right candidate for this role. And so I didn't really see it as that, but I also didn't want to go and apply again because I figured, hey, this probably changed and I don't want to put myself out there again. And they look at it and they said, well, didn't she see the ad? And so, so I just didn't. I figure, you know what, it's better, don't beat a dead mule, just leave it alone. If it didn't work out the first time, it's not going to work out ever.
Thank you for sharing that, Shiomara. I do want to say, if there's a company, and this is back to you, Fred, and then I'll get to Vincent in a second. If there's a company that is doing something great, it's in an industry that you really want to dive into or go deeper into, and you want to continue to show interest, yes, you can find the hiring manager and comment on their comment on their post, and try to find specifically who it is and follow them or connect with them. But there's also another one too. So when you go to in LinkedIn specifically, you can go to the job posting, scroll to the bottom, and I don't think a lot of people know about it or do this, but there's a button that says I'm interested. And when you do that, you can keep yourself kind of on the top of the list on top of all the other strategies that you're using to stay top of mind. I want to know, who the heck is this Fred Miller that keeps on like liking my post or commenting, or has found me and wants to connect, or is posting something on LinkedIn, and the Fred Miller, keep your name up there. That's the name of the game. Keep yourself relevant while you're really targeting these companies or specific industries that you're looking to find roles in. Another thing, this is to you, Xiomara, and Vincent, you're coming up to on the salary thing. You can research this if you want, but there's what we call a Hail Mary email. So Xiomara talked about, yeah, you can, email once to follow up, 2 times, 3rd time. On that 3rd time, you can part of the frustration and the angst that you feel is like, well, they're not getting back to me and I don't know where I stand. And that can be frustrating. So the Hail Mary email is to be just that, to kind of put some control back into your hands, where you can say, hi, I followed up, X and X recruiter or hiring manager. I haven't heard anything back. I think I still am very excited about this role, and express interest in XYZ, and this is the value that I would love to bring. However, since I haven't heard back, for this position back, if anything had changed or was waiting for a response from someone else, whether it's the interview panel, et cetera, I'm glad I continue to move forward. That's like, all right, my chest is heavy, my heart is full. I need to like move on because I got good signs, but I need to kind of like reposition it to see if maybe this can be that response that I get. You don't want to use this everywhere and every time you're reaching out, just reserve it as something that you have in your back pocket, that you can leverage. Like I said, use it sparingly. You don't want to be that person that's out there like ultimately for jobs. but it is an option, right? To try to like gather some response. Some eyebrows.
Yeah, I usually on my 3rd email, I usually just thank them for their time, and I just tell them, I've tried reaching in several occasions. If the position is not available, please let me know. If I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume that the position is no longer available, but do keep me in mind for future reference. And that's it. And I just kind of I give it closure.
Close that book, close that chapter. But it's one way so that you don't feel like you're just being left like ghosted or hanging in the and then now to Vincent's questions. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard horror stories of companies reposting so they can lower the salary since they're getting thousands of applications. I've heard this too. If you are still interested in the role, see it, maybe it's still within your salary band that works for you, and you do get an interview, right? I would ask. When I originally, and this is why it's important to keep a tracker of your applications and the salary bands if you're in a state that provides that level of detail and information, to track that up front. Because if when you apply, say Vincent, you apply and the salary band is just, let's just say 100K to 150. But now you see it as 100 to 125. Like, that's odd. Again, maybe something has changed in the job description or the level of qualifications, but I would use that as an opportunity. Hey, saw that. That's been.
Oh, Ariel, I
Yeah.
think you're breaking up a little bit. Are you guys hearing that too on your end?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did
Yes,
breaks up a
thank you
little
so
bit.
much for saying that. I'm like, is it my internet still?
Oh, no. Okay.
I thought the same thing.
Okay. Let me get a little closer. Is that better?
So it'll just come in and out, but I
Yes.
think this is okay right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for letting me know. So again, this is to address Vincent's question about the reposting of positions and potentially having a lower salary band. So I was saying, if they originally posted, and this is why you need to keep track of what those salary bands are, if they are available in a state where they do log that information and put that up front on the job description, to keep that in mind. If it is within your comfortable range, I would bring that up, and you're still interested in that opportunity, bring that up. Like, hey, when I applied, and you can do it politely, I applied and the salary band was X, Y, or Z. I recently noticed a change from that. Can you tell me a little bit more and why that is? And you decide, do you want to keep going in this in this interview process with this company if they're not willing to let you know why something has changed is and that is super important. Like, money is important among other things like benefits. So you can ask, right? And yeah, it is happening. I'm seeing it a lot, Vincent. It is very unfortunate. And not making sure that they're up leveling the role, but like really kind of taking it down a notch to kind of save money. There's a lot going on in the country right now. That could be an indicator of that. Maybe they don't have budget, but that's not for for you to be concerned about. Your going into it as a job seeker, as an interviewer, is to make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself into with these roles, right? And if that comes off as a red flag, note it and see if that's something you still want to navigate through, right? Ziamara, your hand's up.
So I wanted to share a quick tip. I actually interviewed with Citibank. So if anybody ever applies for any bank or any company that has like that huge salary range that you see, and it's just very distinctive where the lowest is, let's say, 115 and the highest is like 300,000. So what the recruiter actually said was to add those two ranges and divide them in half. And whatever lands in half, that is the actual salary that they are offering for that position. And I've used it with, and I've actually used this technique with other roles, like in Adobe. Adobe does that a lot. They'll put like this humongous salary range that are just like, are you out of your mind? Like, for like nobody's offering 700,000 for a project management job. Let's be for real. I mean, what kind of special things are you doing for that kind of money? Unless you're part of the Diddy thing. But you know what she did say was, if you do practice that, and I've done that with other jobs that I've seen that kind of like salary discrepancy range. I've done that and it's worked out perfectly. When I get on the phone, that's exactly the salary that they're offering.
So I'm sorry, are you saying that if they're offering a range between, let's just to make it easy, $100,000 to $200,000, then you'd be right in the center then?
Yeah, you would have to add whatever you get as an average from those two
Gotcha.
from those two numbers. That's actually the salary range that they're actually offering. So it's between that. So it's that salary range, and you can either add $5,000 more to that salary range.
Understood. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Xiomara. I'm gonna go back to the screen. I just want to share an example of the resume, because I do want to talk a little bit about resume 101 before we start to wrap up. Y'all, this time is flying by. I'm loving this. Cool. So I'm going to share again. This is just a standard resume that you would see. So you have at the top your name, location, email, phone number, LinkedIn if you have it. This is where I say, don't get fancy. Brian, you should recognize this one. I borrowed this one from you. But don't get fancy. When I say fancy, it's the font, the headers. Go with what's standard, right? Like professional experiences. There you can add a summary if that's something that you choose to do. This is just a one-page version, so might need to skip the summary if you're trying to keep your resume to one page, but I just want to keep it as simple as possible just for presentation purposes today. The month and year that you started, ATS maybe sometimes has a challenge with not, like if you have March and you put a 3 instead of 03, some ATS systems can have issues with that. So just keeping those things in mind. Your bullet points, always the most impactful bullet points that make sense and are relevant to those job descriptions, making sure that they are quantifiable. So adding numbers, adding your keywords is also a really good place to do that as well. But making it so that it is a seamless sentence. You don't want to just be dropping in keywords just to get them in for the ATS, and the you know, your bullet point now makes no sense at all. So just keep that in mind. I'll talk a little bit about numbers and quantifying them. It's once you kind of figure out the science of it, or the equation of value, if you want. I just will say you don't have to be exact. If you can come up with a range, like reduce processing time by 20%, be able to talk around how you came up with that 20% or 25%. If something, took an hour to do, but now takes, 45 minutes, there you go, you quantify it. And you could put the little squiggly mark to indicate approximate, so you don't have to write out approximately. That takes off, that space, that important space. That's there. Education, and the rule of thumb is if you have more than 5 to 10 years of, truly 5 years of experience, you can put the education beneath it. I won't go into all of the details there, but personal projects, volunteer work that's relevant to the role that you're applying for, leadership and community involvement, skills and interests. So these are where areas where you can add those keywords, you can add those specific areas of qualifications for your roles. Any questions on that? Let me just take a look in the chat really quickly. Does the bullet point symbol matter? I don't think it matters. I think the only things that this is like a standard format. And Brian, you can elaborate on this one too if you want, but I've heard that some ATS systems can't take the 2-column format. So if you have, or like graphics, those headers and footers, y'all, can get y'all in a lot of trouble if you're trying to like be smart about using the space to keep it to one page. Some ATS systems can't read headers and footers like that. So if you're putting your very valuable advertising bullet points into a footer, like it's not going to read it, and it's going to leave it off, and it's not going to look like a alignment or a match from the JD to your resume. Okay, what is the best font? What is the best font to use for resumes that are ATS system compatible? The standard, I believe, is like Calibri and Times New Roman. I'm blanking on the other ones.
Like Arial.
Arial, yes, there you go. Close to my name, right?
It's a good reminder.
Didn't even think of that.
But yeah, so like keeping it in those very standard fonts. Don't go too small, because you're trying to, cheat the space. Keep it in a normal 10 to 12 size font, no bigger, no smaller, where they're squinting to try to, get that 10 seconds of FaceTime on your resume. Make it clear, make it easy for them to read. If it's 2 pages, it's 2 pages, no big deal. If they ask for one specifically, give them what they want. Give them the milkshake with the burger and fries, not the shrimp tacos, which I love a good shrimp taco. So any other questions? I still have the chat up, but if you feel comfortable coming off screen, or,
I do have one.
Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
Cover letters. I get mixed opinions from recruiters, from people. I know when I was hiring, I never really read them.
Thank you for asking.
What's the thought on them in totality? I mean, you guys have been
Try
recruiters. Do you read them? Do you bother?
I think during my time, and it really, right, it ranges from company to company, but I like to think about it as, you know, you're you're not gonna hire someone off of an awesome cover letter and a shitty resume, right? So it just adds on top of what you already have, like the cherry on top, so to speak. But it's not gonna like be in lieu of the actual meat of your experience and skill sets. So they're always gonna always look at your resume first. And I barely read them, to be honest. Maybe when you are more junior potentially or working for a smaller startup, they want to really see if you're aligned to their mission values and you know about them, that they'll actually read them. But the weight of that versus the resume, definitely everything majority falls on the resume and what you've done and accomplished.
Yeah. I would say if you have a unique experience where you wanted to provide more detail or color on your cover letter, you can on your cover letter as opposed to on your resume, that because you can't kind of like speak to it on your resume, you can add that as a potential talking point on your cover letter just to add more detail. But yeah, to Brian's point, I would say make sure your resumes are on point first before you're trying to like spend a bunch of time or even like using Chat GPT to like zhuzh up your cover letter. So yeah, definitely second that.
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes I wonder if it's worth spending the time to like write a heartfelt, genuine letter, or just everybody's using ChatGPT to just do that if I'm going to send a
I
cover
mean,
letter.
don't make it about you. They need to know who you are and like what's important and what's special or your unicornness about you. So if that's something that you want to share, share it, right? Like it doesn't have to just be this prompt. And also I would say, be careful with Chat GPT too. Like you don't want to get in there and your cover letter sounds like somebody totally outside outside of you and how you would speak or how you would represent yourself or how or the things that you would say. So it should still be in your voice. So that's what I would want to make sure too. Like you can rely on it as a starting point, but definitely make sure you're coming through as well, like not just the AI part of it.
One of the suggestions that I would say, I like using ChatGPT only to refine whatever I create.
Exactly.
I don't like using it as my go-to, my first go-to. However, some folks, they find it very hard to create that cover letter. And so what I've told my nieces and nephews, right, that are just graduating from college, what I tell them is, what you have to do is build your resume, create your resume, copy and paste it to ChatGPT. Ask in ChatGPT when you do that that you would like to chat with a talent acquisition, and copy and paste your resume and ask and tell them I would like to create a cover letter that represents the information that I currently have on my resume, and start from there. And once you get that letter, then take it and customize it as your own. Make it your own with your own words, because I always say when you have to go for that interview, you don't know if that recruiter actually read your cover letter. But if they did, you want to make sure that that cover letter does represent you, so that when you do speak with that recruiter, they can actually say, okay, this person did write this cover letter, and it reflects the verbiage that you currently used, right? Because you don't want ChatGPT to represent and use verbiages and words that you personally would not even use.
Correct. Correct. Thank you, Xiomara. All
Yeah,
right.
I just went ahead and dropped an ebook I created on ChatGPT prompts. This ebook's been downloaded over 2,000 times.
It's pretty
It
good.
gives you like a framework of what to post, then you can craft it towards your own and make it your own. And you could also, did you know, um, change the tonality of how the wording sounds,
Mhm.
right? You can make it more Spartan, you can make it more funny, add personality into that too. So yeah.
Yeah, you just have to tell it. Just tell it. Like talk to
I
it.
fight. I fight with my chat GPT because I tell when I look at it, I look at it, I'm like, this does not sound like anything that I wrote, and I'm like, try again.
Exactly. Think of it as your assistant. You can be a little bit less PC about it, and you can say, I don't like this. Like, try something else or try a different
Yeah,
form.
you got to push. I always say these are tools that are gathering information on how humans interact with it. And so the more you push, the more that software becomes, gets optimized and gets enhanced by its developer because it's capturing the information that's coming from that human being. So if you do things, if you're gonna chat, if you're gonna ask for something, be very natural about it because that's how the tool gets gets amplified and enhanced.
Learn more about you for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so we are coming up on time. We have about 4 minutes or so left. I wanted to make sure that I stuck to my promise and offer some free gifts. So these are two QR codes. I'm also going to drop the links in the chat as well. So one is the Calendly link. I offer some sessions where I do 20-minute resume reviews. Again, free. If you're like, Ariel, you went over the resume one-on-one stuff. Maybe it was a little fast. Maybe I'm not sure what I'm doing right, wrong. Let's take a look at it. Just be, very candid about what you're experiencing. And then I also have the MPH Tech Academy. So Brian oversees all of that. Is amazing. I'm also part of the MPH Tech Academy as well. And that's just to join. Right now, he's offering it for free, but it is a $99 value unless Brian has increased it. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the different.
Yeah, that's the school community. Everyone can join over here. We are planning to start charging for that on a monthly, but everyone right now would be grandfathered in for free.
So I would definitely take advantage of that. I've posted in there. There's other folks in there that are in your same shoes and, just looking for really great information. And, LinkedIn is a big, lofty space. So we're just trying to make it a community of like I said, like-minded folks there to support each other, whether we are like I said, we're both coaches, we're supporting each other to support job seekers. So that's what we want to keep on doing through the school community. And I would say the job search makeover is a series. So I had one last week. I have 2 more left. Again, my birthday is this month. It's in October, so it's the 20th. But as a way of like honoring my birthday, I wanted to give gifts to everybody else. So this is the way that I do it. I'm like, give the best gift, which is myself, my time. I want to be a small part of someone else's, career dreams. And so that is why I'm hosting this and doing so much. But these are the 2. There is the one on the 16th. And then, like I said, my birthday's on the 20th, so I'm skipping a week, y'all. And then I'll come back on October 30th. So the first one on the 16th is revenue operations. So that is industry that I know and love, and I'm talking about transferable skills. So they're 2 different components of a webinar, but I think they're very relatable because sometimes folks don't know how to communicate transferable skills, especially if they're interested in a new role or field. And then the last one is show up and show out in your first 90 days. So I'm putting good vibes out there. For people that are still job searching, oh, thank you, Bree. So for people that are still, on their job search and they're like, I'm praying for you. My heart is going out to you. I want to be right there with you and do what I can. So my goal is once you land that job, you know exactly what to do in your first 90 days to set yourself up for further success and longevity through your career, because that first 90 days is critical to either promotion, whether it is, a bonus or pay increase. Like really setting yourself up. So I'm going to be talking a lot about that as well, but we are right at time, and that is all that I have for y'all today. I'm so happy that you were able to join us. Like I said, these are the next webinar, and I just again want to say thank you for giving us your time. We really appreciate it, and I hope to see you on the next webinars as well.
Thank you so much for giving us your
Thank you.
time. It was really enjoyable. Thank you. And I will
Thank
be
you.
on the 16th on the next one.
Nice, nice. I
Thank
love hearing.
you.
Invite a
Thank
friend.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the
Thanks,
questions.
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.